Hi, I'm Father Ken,
And I'm Leslie.
and today we're going to talk about Saul on the road to Damascus. So, Les, why don't you share with us the story? How does it go?
Well, there was a guy named Saul, and he did not like Christians at all. He felt that anybody who was of the Christian faith was going against the Jewish beliefs, and he was a very devout Jew. So he set out to gather all the Christian followers, and his goal was to actually put them in prison, and they would be tortured and killed. So he sent a letter to the king and asked if he could, in fact, go out and do that, and on the way to Damascus. And so he set out to do that. And things changed a little bit when he got on the road.
What happened?
Well, when he was walking, he was shot down, basically, by a bright light, and he heard a voice that said, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And Saul asked who was speaking. He said, "Lord, is that you?" And the Lord asked him to stop. And so he actually blinded Saul. So, yeah, that's
The story.
Well, it's sort of, yeah. There's more to it.
Well, let's go back and talk about it.
Okay.
Who was this Saul character anyway?
Well, he was an elite Jewish man, born into an elite family. He was a very educated man, a scholar, and he was a devout Jew, and he believed that what was going on with the Christians, the newfound Christians, was wrong, and he was worried about that. So he felt that it was his responsibility to, make a change and do away with those people.
He was actually studying to be a rabbi, wasn't he?
He was. Yep. Yeah.
So he was very well educated.
Yes.
Okay, so he's on his way to Damascus to gather up Christians to persecute them or have them put to death or whatever.
Yeah.
So tell me about this when he was struck down, as you say.
Well, he was traveling on the road with some guys. I assume they might have been people protecting him, or maybe his henchmen.
His strong arms.
And he was struck down by the bright light and a voice that asked him, "Why are you persecuting me?" And of course, Saul stopped and said, "Lord, is that you?" And Jesus said, "No, it's me. And what you're doing is not cool." They're my words, obviously. So because he was blinded, the guys that he was with helped him to get to Damascus.
So did they see what's going on?
They heard it, but they couldn't see anything either. So they were really shocked, and I'm sure they made a really quick path to get to Damascus, to get off the road.
So he got to Damascus with the help of his henchmen.
Yeah.
And so how long was he in Damascus?
About 3 days.
Doing what?
He was praying. He didn't eat, and he didn't drink anything, and he just prayed. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I hear that someone came to his aid.
Yeah.
Who was that?
It was a man named Ananias, and he was actually had a vision from the Lord that he would go and give Saul his sight back again, and he in fact Saul did have that vision that someone was going to come and restore his sight. So Ananias went to he was resistant initially. He said to God, "I'm not sure I want to do this because this guy's bad, and I know what his plan was when he set out. He set out to kill Christians, and I happen to be one of them. So are you sure?" And God said, "I'm sure." So Ananias went to Saul, and a really cool thing happened. He put his hands on Saul's eyes, and while he put his hands on his eyes, he called him brother. And the scales fell from Saul's eyes, and Saul was able to see again. And then Saul started to eat and drink and preach. But the first thing he did was he was baptized, which I found kind of interesting. I wonder why he did that.
Probably because you say Saul was very educated.
Yes.
And so if you're very educated, then you know what everybody's doing and what everybody believes. So I think Saul knew that the Christians believed that initiation rites into their club, into Christianity, was by baptism. So immediately, I'm sure he believed, when he heard the voice, he believed, and so he became part of that body of believers, Christianity, by following in baptism.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so he's baptized,
Yes.
and he's now
Preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was preaching a lot.
Was he immediately accepted?
No, actually, the people that he was serving before, the ones that agreed that Christianity was a bad thing, they were trying to have him killed.
Wow.
And the really
So he goes to kill Christians, and now the people who sin were trying to kill him. This
Yeah.
is fun.
That's right. So, but guess what? The people that he was trying to kill initially, they were protecting him.
Oh, cool.
So the disciples along the way protected him from being killed.
So what did Saul go on and do after that?
Well, the original disciples had heard that this was happening and that Saul was looking to join them. And they said no, kind of the same thing that Ananias had said. And but a man named Barnabas came along. He was also a disciple of Jesus. And he assured them that Saul is on the up and up. He's a changed man. He's been restored. And so he went along with them, and they became buddies. And yeah.
So did Saul do anything good after that point?
Well, actually, Saul wrote at least 13 of the books of the New Testament, of
Wow.
the 27 books. So that's pretty amazing.
Very amazing.
Yep.
Very amazing. Okay, so Saul, at that point, decided not to be Saul anymore, didn't he?
Well, Saul and Paul are the same names.
Yeah.
And I think, this is just my opinion, I think that Saul wanted to kind of leave his past behind.
Good idea.
So he allowed himself to be known as Paul. And there's no great transformation statement in the Bible about the name change like there was with Abram and Sarai early on. But he became Paul, and then we've all known him as Paul.
As Paul since then. Well, there you have it, the story. And we take from this that God can use anyone he desires to use, and maybe even the most unlikely. What would be your wording for that?
Yeah, that's exactly my wording for that. I think that, when we look at Saul and we think that, wow, God would use someone who had done all those things, why wouldn't he use all of us? I mean, we all have the opportunity as long as we're willing to make changes.
Yeah. So we submit ourselves to whatever God's purpose is for us, then he will use us to do great things.
Yeah.
There it is. And join us next month. Every first Sunday of the month, we put out a new Bible story. And I believe next month is going to be Mary and Martha.
Yay!
Yeah, Leslie's favorites. All right. So until next time, God bless you and have a great week.